Hello and welcome to the Author Interviews this week. This week, my guest is Chris Knight of the Real Review 3000. How you doing, Chris?
I am doing rather well. Just living life like I can, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, good to hear. So today we'll be getting to know Chris for all of his fans and any future subscribers that may enjoy this content. Let's start off getting to know who Chris is. Chris, when you were a child, what were your favorite TV shows, your favorite influences, your favorite toys?
Well, I joke about this all the time. The first movie I ever saw was Star Wars, and I was like 2 months old and probably, according to my parents, cried a lot. So not a TV show, but definitely Star Wars was a big thing. A-Team, Magnum PI, Rockford Files, things like that. That's what my parents watched. My father was big into those police, crime, drama, action TV series. So a lot of that stuff. Voltron, G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, all of that stuff, Saturday morning cartoons. I grew up, right in the thick of that. I'm a late 70s child, but I feel like I'm more rooted in the 80s. Even though I didn't grow up as a teenager in the 80s, I knew kids who were older than me, so I kind of felt like I was up there a little more. So it was always one of those things that, sometimes I liked stuff that was a little older than me. And I was an only child, so, I didn't have any siblings to kind of go do those things with. So, I was able to go to friends' houses and watch stuff that was a little more mature for them than what I probably should have been watching. But that's kind of how I lived life. So,
yeah, I think 80s kids were a little bit different, for like 70s parents. I would definitely see when I was a kid, I'd watch The Equalizer with my grandma. Mm-hmm. I'd watch 60 Minutes, things like that.
Yeah.
We
had.
Go ahead, bud.
I was going to say, we had the World News Report and all of that. I mean, I think about it now. Most of our local news handles world news. There's a few. CBS has one, a nightly news type thing and things like that. But, we didn't have CNN like CNN is now, or Fox News or anything like that. It was your news was split up between local and world, not both on one, on your preferred channel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, definitely. It was definitely a change being old enough to watch when cable news got popular. I mean, it was around in the very late 70s and the 80s, but the news programming, how that picked up in the early 90s, especially around the Gulf War. Mm-hmm. All the attention that war got, that Desert Shield and Desert Storm. What about influences? Any creative influences when you were a child?
Creative. Well, I've always had an active imagination, so the movies I watched always creatively in my mind formed my my playtime. I tried to build the Millennium Falcon once out of plywood in my backyard. I didn't get very far, but I really thought I could do it. But I don't know. I've been a big fan of like surreal type things, sci-fi, surreal. Not horror per se, but drama horror, something more rooted in reality. Those types of things I really like. I like believable fiction, where there's just enough truth in there to hold you tight to think this could be true. I'm a big X-Files fan. I grew up, watched all the X-Files when I was in high school and stuff, and the thing about that was there was a sense of believability. The characters, one was totally believing of anything that came up. And then what was funny about Fox's characters is as soon as it was something like a cult or something, he says, "Oh, these aren't real. They're never real. They turn out to be some crazed lunatic doing something, but they're not real." And Scully was always like, "Oh, your aliens aren't real. This isn't real. This isn't real." But when it came to cults, she was like, "Well, that there's been studies that say that
Yeah.
So they always kept things in a believable light, but I did love the surreal nature of it. So I have the imagination where I don't know, I come up with songs and like ideas for movies and things like that in my head. That just, it's a product of my environment, of all the things I watched as a kid. I couldn't necessarily peg it down to one particular thing. It was a multitude of things. I've always had a wide swath or a wide range of likes in music, in movies, and TV. Um, it's almost like a short attention span thing, but I can focus in on it really well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
excellent. What's Well, I guess we've already kind of gone into your teens and 20s here, so let's just go straight to your 20s. What were your favorite shows, your favorite movies, your favorite creatives in your 20s?
well, that was the time I was in the military, so it was here and there what I could watch. I saw Titanic and things like that. Independence Day, those things were coming out. I didn't watch a ton of movies. There was a good swath or a good range of time that really I was just more in depth into music, doing music, being in music, listening to music. So when I got to see movies, they were far and few between. And I mean, thinking back on it right now, I saw the X-Files films. Those were pretty cool. I didn't watch a ton of stuff film-wise in my 20s. And it was, it's kind of a blur.
So you were in the military?
Yeah.
What branch of the military were you in?
Marine Corps.
When did you enlist?
1995.
95? How old were you in 95?
18. But I had 2 years of JROTC.
Okay. All right. And what was your experience like in the Marines?
It was good. It was different than most. We weren't in an active wartime. I got to travel and do things that didn't pertain to things that were particularly trying to think of a way to carefully say this. We weren't didn't pertain to things that were absolutely the country's knowledge at the time.
Mm-hmm. Things
that have come up a little bit here and there over time. We were dealing with a lot. We were in between the Iraq wars and stuff like that. And I got sent to do some fun stuff. I got trained to be on a sub. I was
nice.
Yeah. The whole experience started when I actually thought about going into the Navy. That was the first place I wanted to go into. And my father was in the Navy, and we had talked about it. He's like, yeah, you'll probably go out to San Diego. And I'm like, no, that's cool. I wouldn't mind San Diego. And I went in, did my ASFAB. I had a really high score, so they kind of just were like, what do you want to do? Because that was back when they were literally just getting people in, and they didn't really care. If you had a really good ASFAB score, they'd just give you what you wanted. Mm-hmm. Signing bonus, this, that, everything. And so I said, I'm going to be on a sub. And they looked at me and were like, wow, this guy is ambitious, because most people don't say that as the first thing. And so we talked, and we went through all the steps, did everything, went through my physicals and all that. And then they pulled me in and said, well, you're going to leave on December, I think it was December 15th. I'm going to need a bigger book. I think they said you're going to leave on this. I want to say it was like December 15th or something. It was right before Christmas, sometime in December. And they're like, and you're going to North Chicago. And I'm like, what? North Chicago? I said, what about San Diego? And they said, oh, well, we closed that one down a few years ago for boot. They weren't doing basic out of there anymore. And I was like, I just did the math in my head. I've been to Chicago. Lucky me, because, I've been through lake effect weather, and anybody who's ever been through lake effect weather knows that December in Chicago is nasty. December,
that's what I've heard.
February, it can be just nasty as all get up. So I respectfully asked if there was any other way that I could keep my MOS. And go somewhere else, preferably like San Diego, because I'm thinking December, San Diego, fine. And they said, well, we can send you to the Marine Corps, then we can jump you across the street and go to sub school, and we can do that for you. I'm like, cool, let's do it. I got there, and it was, needless to say, still pretty damn cold. Ocean air in the middle of December in San Diego is still cold. Now, probably not as cold, but I probably could have stood to wait at least another 3 months, but I went, and I got out right about my birthday, right before my 19th birthday, and I went from there.
Nice. So what's it like training on a sub? I take it you had to go on a submarine and into the water.
Yeah, I had 2 times I was on for 3 months, and it's different. I was a sub tech, meaning basically a maintenance man for the sub. You get to learn a lot about stuff that a lot of people don't get to know about. But I found myself shoved in places I never thought I could get into. So I currently work in like a facilities role for a casino, a national casino brand. And so I find myself returning uniforms quite often. And they're like, what do you do this? I says, I learned a long time ago not to get shy with equipment.
Right.
I've been shoved in places. I will crawl in the corner underneath pipes as best as I can. And I'm a lot bigger than I was then. I probably could not even get near some of the places I used to get into. I used to be 100 pounds soaking wet in summer. I mean, that was about as good as I got. And now I'm quite a bit bigger.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed it. I don't know. We were on a brand new ship. I got to do a lot of fun things on there. Got to learn a lot, and I didn't mind it. Some people just can't do it, and I don't understand it.
Is it like a level of claustrophobia that people just don't realize until they get there?
Assume so. And there is something monotonous about only being able to go so far. If you go from the tail to the forefront of the ship, you depending on if you're moving or not, you're not going to get very far.
Right.
I used to say, hey, I'm going to go up to the front and I'll be 5 feet in front of all of you. I think that's the thing. If you're on a carrier or something like that, it's a little different. I mean, they're huge. First off, they're movie theaters, barber shops, this, that. There's all sorts of stuff on a carrier, but you can go up to the top deck and look around and actually see. And you only get that every so often on a sub, and they do it to kind of break the monotony of it. But if you just can't handle being alone, and when I say alone, not alone, but if you can't handle being in a space and kind of just being to yourself at times, sub life isn't going to be what you want to do.
Wow. I've never been on a submarine. I would be interested to see if I can handle it psychologically. But
I'm crazy to begin with. I told people that. I mean, you don't walk in and say, hey, you know what I really want to do is be stuffed into a tin can with a bunch of guys. When you put it like that, you're like, doesn't sound as good, does it? And then I did hear from somebody who just got out of the Navy not too long ago. They're like, oh, yeah, they're letting women on those things. And I was like, where was I?
Equality, buddy.
Under the water with a woman. Something's going to happen, right?
Yeah, you would think. So how long were you in the Marines for?
10 years.
10 years, so 95 to 2005. So you were in when 9/11 went down.
Yeah, I was, but I wasn't released of duty or anything. But because of what my MOS was, I didn't get my job per se, because the guy who actually trained me was also Marine Corps, and they only wanted 5 people on that were Marine Corps for that particular job. So they had several on other ships, but the guy that I trained under was supposed to retire soon after I got in, and he trained me. We went for 3 months. I came back, and his time came up. I went in and I said, so did he retire? They're like, nope, he re-upped for 4 more years. I'm like, okay. So they found places to put me. I got to do a 3-month tour again when he took time off. And then the next time around, they're like, okay, they're like, it's time for you to re-up. Do you want to? I was like, well, is he going to retire? Has he said anything? He says, well, he probably will retire. I re-upped. He didn't retire. 5 years went by. They asked me again. I said, no. I said, if he's not going to retire, I don't want to go through this again. Well, he's going to have to retire. I said, yeah, but every time he hasn't. And so I didn't re-up and he didn't either.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. And I mean, it was like, I don't know, I can't remember. It was like a 6-month difference. So it was just enough time that I had to make the choice and I couldn't say, can we wait? Because they had to have that stuff done. But I enjoyed my time there. The last 3 years was mostly here near my home. I spent a lot of time just being jumped around for different duties, different assignments. And then I had my kids. I had my oldest first, of course, but that was in 2002. So things changed for me. There was a lot of things changing for me. And then right before I got out, my ex-wife was pregnant again. So I was like, yeah, there was a lot of factors in it. Looking back now, I probably should have stayed in, but that's always hindsight,
Yeah, hindsight is 20/20.
Yep.
Life is full of what ifs, and you just have to keep moving forward. So what did you do after you got out of the military?
DJ. I DJ'd on and off during the whole time. I started my company DJing and entertainment and things like that when I was 14 years old. Started out doing friends' parties and stuff. I joke, but it's the truth. I used to have friends out in the Kansas City area of the Kansas City, Kansas area, Overland Park, things like that. If you don't know the area, it's all one giant thing between Kansas and Missouri. It's all clumped in together. Think of it like the Twin Cities up in Minneapolis. But I had friends out there that they would have these parties. I'd bring a boombox by and I'd pop in Cypress Hill, and that's what we would play.
Nice.
But I would do that, and I had a really nice system, so it was like that's where I started. And we'd do stupid things, have a good time, all that fun stuff. And basically, I started doing that. Then somewhere down the line, somebody said, "Hey, man, I got a party at this frat house," and it was like a brother of an older person. So I went there, started getting into that. And then anytime I got shore leave or anything like that, different parties here and there, a club here and there in LA, San Diego, some in Miami, occasionally New York, Chicago. I've done those. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of word of mouth. I've always done word of mouth. So that's, yeah, I mean, I did that, but as soon as I got out, that was where I went because I knew I could do it. And I started really started pushing hard then. But I've done like maintenance jobs. I mean, that's always been like my fallback because my father was a maintenance man, a carpenter, rougher, he did rough ends, taught me all that stuff. His father did it with him, just kind of got passed down to me. He had a contracting company, and a lot of people thought I might go into that, but that wasn't where my heart was. I'm a music guy. I'm a pop culture, all that stuff. This is where it's at for me, is just, I guess, making a fool of myself talking about the stuff I talk about. But, I'm passionate about it. That's where it's at.
Beautiful. How many generations of your family were in the military? Was it just you and your father, or your grandfather too?
My father, my mom's brother, both of my grandparents, or both of my grandfathers. I guess I was told not too long ago that my mom's mother was also, can't remember if it was Navy or Army, but they found military records stating that she was enlisted, I guess. We don't know much about it that I can think of. It's kind of blurry. But my grandfather on my mom's side, or her father, was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. And when he went to, I think it was Fort Leavenworth, he was in officer school there. And they, I guess they had come up with a deployment plan or something in their classes or something they were doing. And he came up with this deployment plan, and several years forward, after he'd been in World War II and Korea, He's in Fort Riley, Kansas, which is where the Big Red One is, one of the bigger Army bases in the country. He's there, and he's sitting at lunch, and all the top brass get called out. Like, just some guy comes in, passes off a memo. They all get up, leave the base.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather goes home and says, well, I don't know what's going on, but something crazy is going on. And as time went on, the next few weeks, he talked about how he, I guess he wasn't in charge there, but he was one of the higher people up after everybody else left for whatever reason. He starts getting these memos. Hey, do this, send these people here, send these people there. And he's signing these orders to send these people places. And one day he comes home and says to my grandmother, I don't know where, but we're going to war. And she said, where? Or not where, but she's like, well, what makes you think that? He says, I think it's Vietnam. And she says, well, why do you say that? And he says, because they're sending me deployment orders using my deployment plan, and they think I don't know it. So according to my mother and several other people, my grandfather is the one that came up with the deployment plan used in Vietnam.
Wow.
So I don't know that for positive, but that is definitely what I've been told. He also had, well, I have the picture now, but he has a picture with him leading the troops in a presidential parade, which was the review of the troops by President Eisenhower. So he is at the front of the line right behind the president's limo.
Wow.
I know when We Didn't Start the Fire in '89 came out with Billy Joel, my mom was listening to it on the radio with me one day as I'm sitting there singing it. She's like, yeah, your grandfather knew that guy. Your grandfather met that person. And she's literally going through talking about all these people my grandfather had met that was in that song. Wow. So my grandfather, I guess, was pretty big into what was going on at the time. My grandfather never really talked a ton about stuff, nor did my father. But my grandfather did tell me one time, he says, if you walk into a VFW, into the bar area, you'll see different groups of people. You'll see the loud, boisterous 20-year-olds, 25, 30-year-olds sitting over there playing pool, drinking, having a good time. But you always see this group of 60s, 70s, 80s guys sitting over in the corner. They're talking with each other, but they're not really loud. They're quiet. He says those are the guys that have the real stories because they don't talk about them anymore.
Yeah.
Because they really went through something. And he's saying, he always said, I'm not telling you that the younger guys aren't true soldiers. They didn't go through the same things we went through.
Yeah.
War has definitely changed over the years. And I mean, it continues to change to this day. So,
yeah, my son found these videos. I can't remember the name of them, or I'd plug them because they were really good. It was a short overview of some of the wars, and he was looking at World War I, World War II. It's like a real short snippet of everything that happened on the major events. And that led into a conversation about Rambo. I took him to see the last Rambo movie because he could handle it. I looked at the reviews. I said, okay, my 14-year-old can handle this.
Oh, yeah.
That led into a conversation about, the Rambo movie and that character Rambo and, how he was a Vietnam veteran and how he was treated in Rambo 1 to the evolution of the character in the last one. And, we really sat down for like an hour, and I tried to convey to him the differences in war tactics and how different era of veterans. I mean, every veteran, from every wartime or that's seen action that develops PTSD. That is completely legitimate. Like, I'm not discounting anyone, but the Vietnam era guys, they were really put into a meat grinder, like almost like the World War I guys. They were thrown into a jungle and saw some of the most horrific things that a human being can see, and then came back to a country that was going through a social revolution that was, mostly ungrateful to them. And it was a very hard time for those vets. I always have respect for all war vets, but Vietnam vets, they have a certain place in my heart.
My father, he was Vietnam, and he rarely ever talked about it. I've heard snippets from him here and there. My father died 3 years ago, so I'll never hear him again. What I remember is what I remember. He was on the flagship for the Tonkin Offense, where they just fired shells at the bay day in, day out. He talked about that, how you couldn't get sleep. It just boom, 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 like non-stop for, I think he said, at least a week. And I mean, again, I don't have anything to go back and ask him or something. So this is memory. He was a radio man. He enjoyed it, but one day they lined up a bunch of people on the deck and said, hey, they need people on land. Does anybody want to go? My dad volunteered to go on land. And I always asked him, I said, what were you, crazy? My father was a radio man, so he was sent on to land as a radio man. There was two people that had a short life expectancy. One was your commanding officers, however high the command was, didn't matter. It was whoever was in charge of the unit. That was your first target. Your second target was their communications. So it was the radio man. So my father went on. He came out okay physically. I think I've heard him talk. I think I remember hearing him talk about having a friend's legs blown off because of a landmine or something. But my father got on a boat to come home when he was 19, and he was lifting up a hatch that weighed about 5,000 pounds, and they put 3 springs in them that distribute the weight. And 2 of those springs popped out, and in the effort to save his left foot from being cut off, he threw out 3 spinal discs. And he lived with that up until the day he died. And most of his complications and most of the reason why he died was because of that. My father was 100% disabled, according to the Veterans Affairs. And it took him, if I remember right, about 10 years fighting for 100%. He had doctors saying, you should be 100%, you should be 100%. But whenever he would go to VA and be reviewed, he'd get the letter back that stated, you're not an amputee. So my father started saying, well, if I just let the damn thing fall on my foot and cut it off, I've been 100% years ago. So he fought. And this is the problem with a lot of, more so I want to say, veterans from Vietnam. But it is a constant problem with the Veterans Affair, is that they just don't look at the true case. They're just looking at numbers and figures, and they're not looking at the actual person and what happened to the person. But my father had 25 surgeries when he was 50 years old total. Wow. By the time he died, in fact, 2 weeks before he died, he had a pacemaker put in. At one time, he was on methadone and morphine pill form. When they started cutting back because they realized how bad the barbiturates and the opioids were, they brought him in, and his new doctor looked at his chart and said, oh my God, how are you on this much? He said, we're supposed to have cut you back. And he says, they have been. And he's like, they have been? The doctor was so at awe at how much he was taking. And on top of that, when I was, I want to say, a junior in high school, my father tried to commit suicide with Oxycontin. He took about 3/4 of a bottle of, I think it was 500 or 600 milligram.
Oh my God.
And when I was supposed to wake him up the next morning, which he did not remember telling me to do, he wanted to go to church. He was trying to go back to church and be more active in his church, and I was all in favor of that. He told me, hey, wake me up in the morning. And so we were getting ready to go to church. Me and my mother, we went to a different church. He was Catholic. We were Presbyterian. I went to go wake him up, and I didn't get any response from him. I saw his eyes. They were open. He was trying to mouth words, but his eyes were really glossy and stuff. And I got to the point finally, I says, if you don't give me something, Dad, I'm going to call 911. I called 911. They came. The only reason why they say he lived through that was because of how much medicine he had been taking over the years. They said his body was near catatonic and near comatose, but his body was still able to filter through that. If they had let him sit in a hospital bed for another week, they said he probably would have filtered it through.
Wow.
But they pumped him out and put charcoal in him and all that fun stuff. But yeah, my father is a testament to the struggles that vets go through and through. And, you know, I can't imagine. I'm lucky I didn't go through any of that. I don't have any need for VA. I don't have any need for any of that. I'm relatively healthy. You know, so, you know, when my father died, he died in his sleep watching the Chiefs play football, and they won that game. And that was something that if you had told him that right before he went to bed or right before he went to sleep, that he would have laughed at you and said, there's no way in hell I'm going to not be in a hospital bed in pain. when I die, and he wasn't. And so it's probably been the easiest thing. I really couldn't imagine my father dying being as easy as it was on me, but I was so happy that he was not in pain anymore. So
God bless the vets, man. God bless your father.
Definitely.
All over the world, you know. And if if you have a friend who's a veteran and they're going through it, reach out and help them, because those men and women, they sacrifice a lot. Even by choice, it doesn't matter. Draft doesn't matter. Those men and women sacrifice a lot for us and in our respective countries, and God bless them. So,
happier times.
Yeah, happier times. No, thank you for sharing that, Chris. That was deep, man. So, your children, you have 2 children, 2 sons?
Yes, 2 sons.
Beautiful. And
you want them? They're as long as you don't want money from me, let them have you. I'll send them in a box right now. Just give me your address.
No, let's see. I've got one now. I've already got one that's 24 and about ready to get married, and gave me a grandson. Oh, and the other one's 14, and he's getting his first job this week. He actually went out and applied for a first job, so I'm really proud of him.
I'm hoping my kid can too. My 14-year-old, he talks about it all the time. I'm hoping he does, but there's very few places anymore for 14-year-olds, so that's kind of difficult.
Yeah, it's McDonald's. That's where he ended up finding. Really? We hit an age block we hit an age block all day this past Saturday, but McDonald's said they'd hire him, and there was another 14-year-old there, 14-year-old girl who was working. So give that a shot.
Well, no, I might have to have my son look into that if he wants to. I mean, I'm not going to force my kids to necessarily do what they don't want to do. You got to have some motivation to want to do that. Yeah. But I know he wants money, so that's most of the time what teens, want is like they don't care about the job, they just want money.
Yeah.
And when mom and dad look at them and go like, yeah, no, it ain't happening for me.
So what was your initial feelings when you heard that Disney was buying Lucasfilm?
I was pretty excited, actually. When you throw unlimited amounts of money at the universe as Star Wars stands, all the planets, all the different humanoids or aliens that are in it, all the different characters, all the different subgenres, subplots, all of the things that are in Star Wars that were given to them up front.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cash cow. And I'm not saying that as in that's all it was worth. I'm just saying that all they had to do was just put out what they already had at their disposal and not write one thing themselves. And we would have opened our wallets, handed a credit card to them and said, just keep a hold of that and I'll be okay. You just hold on to that and make sure I have tickets. Take my money, please. That's what I thought. Honest to God, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
And yeah, so that's how I felt.
That's how you felt. All right. What did you think of The Force Awakens?
I loved it. I honest to God loved it. It was, I mean, yeah, okay. Everybody wants to put out there, oh, it's like A New Hope. Well, of course. Mm-hmm. I think in some ways that, when you split trilogies up and you continue to, you got to have a beginning and middle and an end, and it's going to be reminiscent. I mean, even in the Phantom Menace, mm-hmm. It was somewhat reminiscent of A New Hope. They were on Tatooine, had a lot of that stuff going on, but they did open it up, and The Force Awakens did similar things too. I just don't think it was a horrible movie. I think it set up a good plot. I thought Finn was going to be the guy. I kind of wish it still was. I got nothing against Daisy Ridley. I think she's doing as the absolute best she can with what she's got. I think that's the problem with a lot of movies these days. The material isn't there for the actors who are capable of acting to actually act. But I was impressed. I liked the add-ins. The biggest problem with it was they didn't have our original group of characters together, and they should have had that. Luke should have been in 7. even if it was in flashbacks. Again, I say to this point now, we had to have context for everything that's happened in these movies. And that's what's been so hard for me and a lot of people to accept these movies, is we don't have the context to go with what we're seeing on screen. We don't know. So if they had added little things, more flashbacks than what they actually did, just the quick little thing with Luke and his hand on R2-D2 and the burning temple, they needed more of that. And even farther back, like between the 30 years we don't see what happens, they needed to add some of that. They could have spent a lot of that movie and taken out a lot of the stuff they put in there, and actually dedicated more to the backstory of the 30 years, and still given us the same progression that we got with Rey, Finn, and Poe, but give us all that we needed for context for the next movies. And I think if they had done that, we probably, maybe, would have handled The Last Jedi better.
What did you think of Rogue One?
I loved it. Hey, that's probably the best thing they've put on the screen. This is something, the reason why I say this is we don't need the character development here. We know what we're watching. We know this story. We've been told this. It's in A New Hope or Star Wars, whatever you want to call it, because I call it Star Wars still. We had that. We already knew what happened. We knew these people raided to get these plans, and we knew they die. It was already said. So we didn't need the character development as much. We got enough character development to move along. We know that Jen Erso is Galen Erso's daughter. Galen Erso comes up with the plans and builds this fault in purposely. So that answers a question we have from Star Wars.
Right.
Though they analyze the information, I think what they're analyzing is to see if it really is true. Because now we know with Rogue One that the context is there, that they already know that there's a possibility that there's a problem on the Death Star that they can exploit. So they analyze it, what Galen Erso sends them, and they said, look at that, it is here. And I think it's a nice add-in. And as soon as I got done seeing the premiere of that, I went home and I watched A New Hope. I was like, I got to do this because it's in so well. I mean, and Darth Vader in that, we get to see his castle, which, was amazing, I thought.
Yeah.
I loved Tarkin in it. I think it's just amazing what they did with that. Yeah, will it hold up in time? Probably not. Technology just doesn't hold up. It gets better and better and better. And then you look back and you're like, oh my God, 20 years from now, some kid's going to be looking like, you thought this was good? This looks like back in the 50s. It was the 80s. No, whatever. Whatever. But for us, currently, it was just great to see that. I really wanted to see an Obi-Wan movie. I wanted to see a Darth Vader movie. I don't know if we're going to get those. I mean, Obi-Wan's talked about being a TV series. I think that's a waste of Ewan McGregor's talent. And I think it's a waste of people's time because I don't want to see a bunch of broken up stories. I want to see a story.
Yeah. I 100% believe that if Feige's taken over in 2021, that he'll already have a plan for a Darth Vader movie. Like, that's something I think that would do a lot of good for the fandom. Just see him hunting down Jedi, in that 20 years span.
Yeah. Here's exactly what you just said. That's totally true. And I've said this time and time again. The separation between Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm was a property that was pretty much in limbo. It was on cryo freeze. It was sitting there. Lots of potential, just need to be awoken and brought out. But there was no outline. Lucas brought them an outline and they threw it away. They shouldn't have done that. But they, Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, and all these other people with Lucasfilm and the upper people saw this and they're like, "Ooh, we're gonna do what we want with this. We got a new movie. We're gonna do a new movie every year. We got to do this. We can do this. Screw the EU. Throw it out there. Who cares?" And they just went. They were like a little child or a little boy who'd never seen a Playboy. They didn't know what to do with it, but they wanted to do something. The difference between that and Marvel Studios is when Feige was brought in to talk to Bob Iger, he had this book. And this is all in my mind how this went. He sets this book down, says, here, look at this. This is my outline. We're going to do this. We've already done this part of the book. You can look at it later, but we're going to do this, 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 this. I'm up to this point, and this is kind of how we're kind of thinking we're going to wrap it up. We're not sure yet, but we're leading to this. And then I don't know from there. And Iger looked at him and says, good, closes the book, hands it to him, says, have a good day. And they didn't even touch it because there was a plan there. Feige came in with a plan and said, here you go. And they were like, great, we don't have to do anything. You're going to make money for us. Great, bye. That's where Disney went wrong. They should have kept Lucas in some fashion and just listened to him and let him not direct it or guide it. Yeah. Tell them, okay, I would do this, not that. Send them the scripts, send them the outline, send them the storyboarding, and say, what do you think of this? I wouldn't do that. That's really not in line with what Star Wars is. You're trying to finish up the Skywalker saga, right? Well, you don't want to go that route. You want to go this route. Just as an advisor. And they cut him out completely. And, I know that there's people out there who've done videos about how Iger screwed Lucas over and did this and did that, and it's all in the book. No. I guarantee you right now, Lucas probably knew that they weren't going to listen to him, but he didn't care at that point. He was coming up with the new trilogy to wrap this all up and be done with Star Wars.
Right.
And whether or not Star Wars would have continued to go on or not was not going to be his concern. So when rumblings in Hollywood started that he was coming up with this new trilogy, I guarantee you that Disney made a call, either talk to Kathleen Kennedy, the world's most powerful secretary, because that's all she really is. And they made a phone call and started this back barroom corner deal. And then just said to Lucas, you want out? Here's $4 billion. And Lucas said, peace. Yeah. And not that this is something you should be mad at Lucas about, but he obviously doesn't care enough about Star Wars to give to what's. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. And it's not. I mean, think about it. You dedicate all your life to this. He didn't necessarily want to just do Star Wars. He is an accomplished director in other facets. He has a much better mind than just Star Wars. And I can see where he was coming from. It's just they should have listened to him and studied how he did things, not rushed it. I think the biggest problem Disney has is they rushed these first few movies. Solo to me wasn't that horrible of a movie. There are parts that are cringy, but the other parts I think are okay. Again, though, I think if Feige comes in, the best thing he could ever do is say EU is back. I don't care what they say. We're bringing back the EU.
Right.
Because that is our stories. And we can't handpick what we want. It's not like the comic book movies where comic books between authors, between illustrators are different. So you can have 50 different timelines and it doesn't matter to anybody. If you like this author and this artist or illustrator, you're going to read that timeline. If you like this one, you're going to go that way. And then when the movies, they can handpick bits and pieces of all of that. And it doesn't matter because we all are used to it with comic books. Star Wars was a very defined absolute on what was going on. You had your characters. Your characters were never out of a timeline. They were always in this universe at this moment. And the only thing that changed was the length of time between each moment. But it was all one straight line. And what they have done is they have skewed that timeline, and this one goes this way, theirs goes that way. And they started handpicking from the EU what they wanted, even though they claim the EU doesn't exist or they don't answer it as canon anymore. So how can you bring pieces of that back? It doesn't make sense. So they play this game that the fans are too stupid to understand stuff. The fans don't get it. And it's not that we get it too much and we understand it way better than they do. And so they think we are a threat.
Hell, well said. Well said, Chris. So my co-author and I had you in a couple weeks ago for this next question. And I have to say it was the most well-articulated and understandable answer that I have ever heard from anyone in or outside of the Menace. and that is, what did you think of The Last Jedi?
This is always where people like, boo, boo. I liked it. With that said, it's not a Star Wars movie. I liked it, but like I said, there's no context for anything that's going on. We're watching it when we have to accept it, or you have to go and find the context for it. And that's what I've done. I've gone back through the prequels, through the original trilogy, and through 7, and I found the context that makes it work, as much of it as possible. You can have your opinion about it. I understand it. I accept all the flaws. Everybody says, well, what about this? What about this? What about that? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's not shot like a Star Wars film. Rian Johnson does not honor the characters as well as he should. And what he almost does in that movie is treat it like Star Wars, the original one, where George Lucas has been known to say, when you watch Star Wars for the first time in 77, if you were an adult, you were either going to be with it or you weren't. Didn't matter. He was not going to give you context. He didn't give you any sort of exposition, nothing like that. He said, I've seen and heard 15,000 commentaries with all my DVDs and stuff of this, and he constantly says, I don't like exposition. I wasn't going to give it to them, and they were going to be on board with it or not. You were going to get thrown into this world with these two droids and either go down this path with them or not be with them at all. And that's okay when you're talking about the first movie, because even if you give us exposition of any sort, we're not going to understand it. So we had to be on board with it. And if you were, you became a Star Wars fan. The problem with doing that with The Last Jedi is you have to give context when you change things so much. 30 years to go by. Okay, can I believe that Luke Skywalker is a grumpy old man who is no longer wanting to be a part of the Force because of things that have happened? I can understand how. I can see why. But they're not showing me it. So everything I do to make this work is in my own mind. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right. And that's the problem. I guess I don't know if I should say purposely, but I kind of wonder with Rian Johnson, with the things he said as time went on, they purposely put a divide in the fandom to destroy a franchise or destroy what the original fans consider their franchise. Because no matter what anybody wants to say right now, these are our movies, the original groups of fans that have been with it since the beginning or since the prequels. This is to end and tie up the loose ends of the Skywalker saga. So it is for us. It's not for the new fans. No matter what they want to think, it isn't for them, because if they came in on this trilogy, they don't know what's going on. They have no clue. So they're all like, yay, this is great. This is great. This is great. You don't know. You have no say in this. I can see how this works. I can see how this could work out. And I have my opinions on the third, on 9. I think the easiest way that for everybody they could fix this is just say that this is some Force vision of Luke's, that he has gone forward enough in time to see where this all goes. Maybe we go into 9 and you could automatically bring him back, have him come out of this Force vision and realize that even though he knows Ben Solo is turning to the dark side, he thinks, okay, I see Rey, I see Ben, I see this going on, I see Snoke. If I can find Rey first and bring her here and train her, there's ways you can fix it.
Right.
And I don't personally know if they're going to go there. The other thing that helped me with the movie is I didn't read the leaks. I feel by going into the theater, sitting down and watching it and not knowing what's going to happen, that I can more easily ingest it and accept it. And I'm not saying that means the people who didn't like it are wrong, because the big problem missing from the Star Wars universe is that people should be allowed to voice their opinions.
Right.
There was never a right and wrong answer. When we all talked about Darth Vader saying that he was Luke's father, well, there were people that didn't believe it, but didn't cause this divide. So the context is what I think the problem is with this trilogy. There's nothing to base it off of. If we had that, I mean, truthfully, they should have made a movie that was the 30 years between the two trilogies and just do a whole movie on it. And I mean, they did the Clone Wars with the illustrated computer graphic movie. They could have done one of those,
Right.
And given us, this is everything that happened between now and then gone right into it. But they did it with books, and comics and things that just, when you come down to it, like the one that explains C-3PO's red arm, it's like, that's it. He saved a droid and now he has a red arm, and you made it sound like it was some important thing. Disney's mishandled this in many different ways. And yeah, I mean, I will never apologize for liking the movie. I will say it is the least favorite of mine. It is down at the bottom. I have watched it a total of 4 or 5 times. I don't own a copy of it physically. I own a digital copy. Same thing with The Force Awakens. I don't own a physical copy. I own a digital copy. And Rogue One, I do not own a physical copy. I own a digital copy. And that will continue down line because I don't see that Disney is treating this properly. I'm with you. Feige comes in. I hope he's making an outline right now. I hope if he comes in with something and says, we're going to, this is the end of the Skywalker saga. No matter what you think of it, no matter what you are on board or not on board with, once this is over, our Star Wars, ours, yours, mine, and all the other fans who have grown up with Star Wars over the years, is over. That doesn't mean you can't bring it back. It just means for most of us, we're going to walk away and say, whatever they're doing doesn't matter. They have a chance with The Mandalorian. They have a chance with the Obi-Wan series. I hope they do an Obi-Wan movie and a Darth Vader movie. I hope he does come up with that idea. There's ways to salvage it. But after this is over, most of us are going to walk away. And they've not done anything to really try to build up a new fan base. And the only way they could have done that was to respect and honor our wishes as the older fans who have kids that we could bring and say, hey, look at this, look at this. But they didn't. So it tainted a lot of our want to go see these. So we haven't brought in new fans. And so now they have all these truthfully quasi fans that are just on board because they can poke at people for being supposedly racist or homophobic or whatever. That's the only fans they really have, just people who are on board because right now it's something that they can go online and type up crap answers to Twitter posts and things like that, and they get under people's skin, and that's all they're in it for. As soon as that goes away, they're going to go away, and then Disney's going to be like, well, wait, we have nobody left for Star Wars. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. It's hard for people who enjoyed The Last Jedi to speak their mind in our kind of loose fan collective, because there are people that feel so passionately about it. But I'd like to give you an opportunity to say, what do you like? What did you like about The Last Jedi?
I like the expansion of the Force, the Force visions, the Force projection, the Force melding, I guess you could say, like the mind meld. I like the fact that they really went out and tried to expand what the Force can do. I don't think it was anything that we thought couldn't be done. It's just we've never seen it. The Force has been pretty static in all 7 films up until that point. 8 was the first to really expand what the Force could do. And it offers a lot of things that when Luke says, this isn't going to turn out the way you think it is, I think that's not just a line meant for Rey. I think it's meant for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
I really hold out hope that what they're saying is what you see here isn't really what's going on. Like a magician, they talk for 10 minutes while this trick's going on around you, and there's all this moving stuff around them, and they're standing right there. They're making they're giving you the presentation. This is a 5,000-year-old trick. Blah 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 blah. Everything they're saying doesn't mean anything. It's nothing to what's really going on, and you have to find what's really going on. That's why I say it'd be really easy to make it a Force vision, because it's all so chaotic. I like the expansion of the Kylo Ren character. Again, Rey doesn't get much expansion in this. That's a problem. But Kylo Ren, in my opinion, does expand his character. You see him plotting and scheming. He thinks he's turning Rey, and he's using it, making her think that he's more benevolent than he really is. And at the end of it, when Snoke's dead and Hux comes in, I think you really see the character start to really get in gear with what we thought he was. Hux says, well, why are we going to do that? Our supreme leader's dead. And he goes and hits him in the neck and says, and then Hux realizes, oh crap.
Right.
And I love that. I think that this shows that he is tired of being treated like a baby, even though he may act like a baby. He is tired of it. So when he gets it, he's getting in that adolescent stage. When he's on the walker, the gorilla walker, and he tells him to fire at Luke, just let it all loose. I mean, he is just enraged completely that everything coming up is challenging him. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want anything more to do with it. He wants to show I am the real thing.
Yeah.
I like the non-training training montage. I do like Luke in this film because I can see him getting to that point. He's been defeated. He is the only one left. He's lost all of this that he's built up. And why? It's because, like he said, he thought he was you know what?
Yeah.
He thought he was everything, and he thought he could do it. And if you remember Luke in A New Hope, he was easily defeated. His feelings, when Ben dies, he's sitting on the ship going like, what am I to do? Like, what am I to do now? He always is like that. It's like that little boy coming back out in him, and I see this as a part of his character trait. Luke isn't always a nice person. The things he says, the things he does throughout the movies, he's not a nice person per se, but he's selfless. He is always thinking about others. So I can believe that once he's lost his nephew, once he's lost all the other trainees and all the other Padawans or whatever he calls them, he decides again that the only way to fix this is to stay far away from everyone, cut himself off from the Force. So kind of the reverse of what he did in Empire Strikes Back, where he rushes to save the people, his friends, and he rushes, and all he's hearing from Ben and from Yoda is, don't go, you are not ready. And when it turns out to be true, this could be when all that happened, he might have that in his head again, going like, you know what? Last time I went to try to fix everything, it turned out worse for me. And I need to back away. I'm the problem, obviously. I can see how that works. So that's why I say I can find the points where it could be possible in his character traits for him to turn around and think the only way to keep people safe, the only way to stay and make it not worse than it already is to go away. Is it true? Does that make a lot of sense? Not necessarily, but in his head, the way he processes things, it could be the way he sees it. Remember, he wasn't raised completely. He left and his aunt and uncle were killed when he was young. The ways he's been raised, people have died around him. He's only had very minimal training. Those emotions are still there. There's a lot of things that could still be going around in his head that makes him become a hermit. And I think it's really interesting how he starts to show why the Force and the Jedis weren't necessarily the greatest thing. I don't doubt for 1 minute that even Qui-Gon Jinn felt like that. This is a very, and the best way to put this is it's like a gray Jedi. A gray Jedi sees that it isn't a point of being a light side or a dark side. It is understanding the Force completely. And I think that's more what he is, but he's completely cut himself off from the Force. But he does still live on an island where he's protecting the last of the texts.
Mm-hmm.
So there is still some belief that he can protect things by keeping the Jedi away. And I think that's where he thinks the problem is, because the Jedi were inherently the cause of the uprising of the Empire. They are inherently what started the real rebellion, because Ben Kenobi insists that they go. He's one of the last of the Jedi. So again, the Jedi kind of pushed that forward. He views it very much that perhaps the Jedi shouldn't exist. I can see all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense with what we saw Luke as in the last thing we saw him in, which was Return of the Jedi? No, it doesn't make sense. This is where context comes into play. I can make all the answers for it. That doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean that people who don't like it and say that's not my Luke, that doesn't mean they're wrong. Because we don't have the context. We don't know who's right. We don't know who's wrong. So we have to accept each other's opinions. We're both right to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a lot of things in that, that's about, I hate the Cantabite scene. It's completely pointless. Everything we've seen in a Star Wars film says, why don't we just go to the ship, find a way on the ship, and take a thermal detonator and put it in the damn room where this thing is, and it'll blow up and we're done.
Right.
But they come up with this stupid elaborate plan to go and pick up a hacker, which we've never really had a hacker before. We've all had, the only thing we've come close to as a hacker in any movie up until this point was people who stole codes to allow Imperial ships to travel. That's in Return of the Jedi. That's in Rogue One. They have stolen codes, or in Rogue One, it's already a code that's with the ship. It's just if the ship is still listed as a current ship. So the hacker thing makes no sense. It's just an excuse to go to a new planet, which is fine. I don't necessarily say that's a bad thing, but there's other ways you could have done it. So I think, again, though, we don't get enough of the two characters that are left now, Leia and Luke together, but I really do like the scene where he comes up to her and hands her the dice.
Mm-hmm. It was good to see them on screen together.
It was, and I think that's a big miss that Disney had by not having Han and Luke together, because they did try to give you a little bit of that sense when he does go on to the Millennium Falcon. I really do like that, because there's that moment of childness in Luke. He has a kind of a faint smile and a ooh, I'm back on board the Millennium Falcon. And then he goes and he's touching he's doing that, and he's remembering all this stuff. And that moment is very well done. It's just, it should have been something with Luke and Han. Again, there's lots of misses, but I think the main storyline, it does a good job of showing that Rey is very turmoiled inside. She has a lot of problems going on inside. She's definitely pulled to the dark side of the Force. There's no doubt of that. They make that very clear, because she's much like Anakin. She's wanting to know what about her parents. That's like her main thing, and that's a very selfish thing.
Mm-hmm.
Luke was very different, and I think Luke notices that of her, and probably that's sort of the reason why he's scared of her. I think you get a lot more of that, and I've told you my theory on why Rey is able to do the things she's done. call it what you will. I think George Lucas screwed himself over when he added metachlorians to this. He hated exposition, but he gave us exposition about why people are so strong with the Force. It's metachlorians. I believe that set up this ability to state, without stating it, that metachlorians could be a part of a person, and if they were strong enough, could evolve within the Force and can make a person become so abled in the Force because of a need. Luke Skywalker is not around. He is the last Jedi. He is the Jedi that the universe needs. But since he's not around and he's cut himself off in the Force, these metachlorians are going crazy trying to balance the Force. They find, or they make Rey, or Rey is made, or Rey is born, whatever her backstory is, which we still don't know. But if they were in her, that they are exponentially trying to fix the universe by her because she has the strongest count or something of that sort. Mm-hmm. So I believe you can find a string of why that is happening. She doesn't necessarily even understand it. When she's able to talk her way out of the chair in The Force Awakens, she doesn't understand it. Mm-hmm. She just does it because she gets this inkling, well, if I try this. And while it doesn't play out 100% well on screen, I can understand it. I can absolutely say that there's a very good possibility that that's why it's happening. Because that's what we're told about metachlorians. That's what we're told about why Anakin was made, was it was balance the Force. And so everywhere within the movies, we've had that balance of Force. We had all the Jedis and we had one Sith. And when the Jedis were destroyed and Darth Vader became, then in the next movies, the metachlorians, and granted, we didn't have them in the original trilogy, but we now would have to assume that the metachlorians are strong in Anakin's family and his kids. So therefore, Luke, Obi-Wan feels this and knows this to be true. So he is trying to pull Luke to balance the Force. And you can also argue that Ben and Yoda probably both know that this is the only way to balance the Force. And the end of it all, truth be told, it's Anakin that's really the one that balances the Force at the end of it. It's not Luke. It's just Luke helps him come back.
Right.
And now the Force is out of balance again. And technically at the end of the Return of the Jedi, it's out of balance because now you have Luke, and Luke is a good Jedi. And now we're unbalanced again. So, the Empire falls, and in the outskirts and the outreaches, according to the way Disney has set this up, Snoke is sitting there building this new, First Order. And he, then he gets a hold of Ben, and now again, Luke leaves. So now we're off balance again. And so it's this constant turmoil thing. And all the metachlorians are trying to do is find that balance because the gray overall, the even. So at the end of this trilogy, if they still have one Sith or whatever they want to call them and one good Jedi left, it's okay. Mm-hmm. If you kill off one or the other in this, you're going to be unbalanced again. And it just sends it right down to having to have another movie. So at the end of 9, I'm thinking maybe Ben will turn back to the light side. Rey may turn to the dark side, and that's how it's left. And even though if they go forward with those two people in another movie, you could still say that the Skywalker saga is done. Mm-hmm. And they could take up their own mantle and do their own thing with those characters. Perhaps. I don't think they'll do that, but there has been some rumbling that Daisy Ridley said that she may be in more.
I'd like to make a point. Well, first off, Chris, I definitely want to have you back after ROTS comes out because I want to see how things have panned out and speak with you again on this. But when you remove, when and if you're able to remove all of the controversy, the disrespect the fandom has been shown by Disney Lucasfilm employees, the abandonment of a lot of dedication to the traditional fandoms, and I mean the OT and the prequel trilogy fandoms and EU fandoms. When you're able to remove all that, and then you look at just the art itself, and you have someone like Chris, who, as a fan of this mythology, can break it down like this and try to fill in the gaps and try to make sense of what he was given. These are the kinds of discussions that we should have been having for the last 2 years, for the last 3-4 years. These are the types of discussions that classical Star Wars fans have always had. And I know it's hard for you, for someone in our collective and your position, to speak about these things, because people are very emotional, and rightly so, about how the lore and the legacy and the fandom and the actors and the characters have been treated. But yeah, I definitely want to have you back and talk about this again after that movie comes out.
No problem whatsoever. I've always said that I'm hanging on a thread here. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it on opening night here in Kansas City. I actually have had the chance to see The Last Jedi and Solo at the Chinese Theater in LA the week of the premiere. So after the main actors and after the almost main actors have gone to see it, I think I saw it the third night on both times. So that was really fun. That was like really amazing, because that's like a week before anybody else gets it. But I'll go here in Kansas City. I'll dress up as Han Solo, which I was made a total fool of in 7 because I did not know he was going to be killed. I was the only one dressed up as Han Solo. And I got the looks of, ooh, you don't know what's going on, do you? So yeah.
So we kind of touched on Solo a little bit, falling a little bit behind, but real quick, what did you think of Solo if you had seen it?
I like the context of it. I like a lot of the things that go on in it. I read the original trilogy of Han Solo back in, well, it's from like 79, 80, 81, I think it's when they did it. I'd have to go back and look at the titles. I can't remember right offhand right now. I've got them in a box here, the original pressings of them. My mom was gracious to buy me those things. So I have a lot of the like really old stuff. But they took a lot of liberties with the Han Solo and Empire association. If I remember right in the books, it does say that he goes to enlist, but as soon as he goes in, he's basically doing it just to get a hold of a ship. And that's it. So it wasn't as involved as they make it look like in the movie, but I was okay with it because there is some history between him and the Empire. Yeah. He had to start his smuggling ways somehow. I think that would have happened with some sort of a mentor. The way that Woody Harrelson played the mentor, I can't remember what his name is. Again, I just watched it the other night. I can't remember, but I think he does a good job. Don't do this, kid. Don't do this. Get out of my way, kid. I don't want you around, kid. Blah, blah, blah. Finally, he's just like, okay, this guy's not going to give up. Fine, come along with us. Then everything goes to crap when they're trying to get the hyper fuel or whatever they call it. But I think it's all set up really well. It sets them up into a place where they have to do. They do it. The Kessel Run thing is mentioned in it. I think we all wanted to see that. How they did it wasn't necessarily the best, but okay. Whatever her name is, the
L337.
Yeah, not needed at all. But okay, whatever. I like that we get to see the Sabacc game. Mm-hmm. I honestly thought that they would have. I thought that they were going to let him win that first one, but now it makes more sense why Lando in Empire Strikes Back says you cheated, and then he says, no, I won that game fair and square. Yeah. It gives a lot of context to that. And oh God, what's his name that played Lando? Oh, I can't remember his stage.
Donald Glover.
Also known as Donald Glover, but he's I can't remember what his stage name is. He's a rapper. I like him. Yeah, thank you. I really like the guy. I like his music for the most part. I'm not a big fan of everything, but I like his music. I think he did an excellent job. I don't think he's ever acted in anything else. He fits the part, looks the part.
He was in The Martian.
What?
He was in The Martian.
Oh, was he? Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. He was.
Played the smart IT kid. I thought he did great in that.
That's right.
Like, Donald Glover as an actor, I really like.
Yeah.
As a person, I don't like.
Well, I don't ever care about a person. If you're a good person, great. I probably like you more, but I could care less about Mel Gibson as a person. He's a crap person,
right?
But I love his acting. I love his movies, and I will not stop going to see his movies just because of who he is in real life. If my job is to idolize and like everybody who's famous, then I am way out of base with reality.
Right? Yeah, feel the same way about like Chris Evans. I enjoy seeing him on screen. I don't agree with a lot of his politics. But
that's the thing. If you're going to Hollywood for politics, then you need to not vote. Don't vote, please. I don't care if you're voting Republican or Democrat or Independent. Right. If you're basing your views off of these people, you're doing it wrong. Get your own opinion. But I think he was great as Lando. You add the robot. It's, luckily she dies really quick, and for the most part, it's a very short bit.
There's so many things in space to have sex with.
Yeah. And that got really weird that she's like, it would work. And it's like, okay, no. Well, actually, she says it works. And when she said that, this last time I watched, I said, is she stating that her parts are interchangeable with humans? Is she stating that what I have there does really work? I'm like, wow, that is way too much information.
I mean, yeah. Is this a movie series just for kids, or like know?
They kill her off. So I kind of didn't like the fact that she's the nav computer now. Mm-hmm. It kind of throws away the meaning of the Millennium Falcon in 4, 5, and 6, and all the other stuff you see it in. But okay, fine. It makes some sense because she has the best nav, the navigational chart in the galaxy. Which, if that's what you're going to do with a stupid character like that, is make the only good part of her be those charts, which is the only thing they really say of any context throughout the whole thing. Well, I keep her around because she's got good navigational charts, is what Lando says, or something like that. Okay, fine. So it's a means to an end. You kill her. She goes in there. Great. We're done with the stupid character. And now she's quiet, and she's just a computer in a ship that tells people where to go.
I guarantee that if it wasn't the current socio-political climate, if things weren't being pushed the way that they were, that probably would have been more well received. It's kind of funny. It would be funny to see a droid, fighting for sentience, and give it a little bit of context after the Clone Wars, where you had the Republic fighting against not a clone army, a mech army.
Yeah.
There's ways around it.
Yeah. For the most part, droids are ambiguous in the Star Wars series. Yes, that Anthony Daniels is in C-3PO, so you kind of think male, but he's got a very ambiguous, I don't want to say gay, but feminine way about them. You don't hear R2, so you really just laugh at R2 because it's the reaction of the actors around them that give you the context of what he's saying. The Imperial robot in Rogue One, you assume is male, but he's very ambiguous in and of itself. Yeah. That's droids. This one is the first one that was overly one way, and I think it was a big miss. Yeah. If you had made it ambiguous and left the sexual context out of it, it would have been fine. But they just couldn't do that, so I don't understand that part of it. But the rest of it, I mean, I really think that's the biggest problem with this movie, and I can and it's quick enough that I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
I let it go, and I look the other way.
Aside from a few flaws, I'm on the DL. I can watch Solo. It's one of those things that it's one of those guilty pleasures, I guess, for me. Like I also love Suicide Squad, so.
I love Suicide Squad too.
We're on the same page.
I mean, again, let's go with the robot was bad in Solo. Joker was a miss in Suicide Squad.
Right.
The rest of that, I always wanted to see Captain Boomerang.
How they made Captain Boomerang cool, like that alone for me. is a good
Well, they
plus.
picked the right actor, and the fact that he's supposed to be coming back for this next one, I think, is a great move.
Yeah. Next question.
Okay.
Do you consider yourself fandom Menace? Yes or no, and why?
Yes. As much as people wonder how that's possible, my intro, which I have here, I have it kind of memorized. My intro when I'm on some channels is I am Chris Knight, the Fandom Menace's token Last Jedi supporter, mouthpiece of the Fandom Collective, overlord of the Fandom Zone, and one half of the team at the Real Review 3000, where I say we are ADHD for YouTube. Yeah, I do. Mostly because you guys, everybody involved in the Fandom Menace and the Fandom Collective, hold many of the same beliefs that I do. As much as we may disagree about The Last Jedi, at the end of it, we both agree that what's going on within this climate of Hollywood, be it Star Wars, be it DC films, Marvel films, whatever, when they're when you put it all down to it, we are on the side of let people have what they want to say be said and don't attack them for it.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to come out and say, I like the fact that she's a feminine robot, I like this, I like that, and to give it a very clear and concise reason by not saying you're a racist, you're homophobic, you're a chauvinistic white male, that's what they come up with. That's it. They don't give you context. They don't, I got in an argument a while back with Renfamous and her cronies and all that stuff, and they didn't even really get the point of the video I made, which is basically one of them called Sean Stackhouse a Nazi. And I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. I'm like, if you have any context of what Nazi means, then you're going to, then you don't use that word just on a whim when you're applying it to what you think of somebody. And they basically called him a Nazi. That's ridiculous. And they're sitting here talking about how somebody's body shaming somebody else, yet they're body shaming him. And I'm like, do you guys listen to yourself? Do you understand anything about what this is about? And then they came on me. Well, actually, they attacked him about it, and they didn't even bring up the point that it was about Nazism. Well, the problem is that they're using they're everything that they're saying they're not. Mm-hmm. They say they're for equal rights, yet they want to constantly show where the divide between people are. That there's not enough of this or there's not enough of that. Where you should be in that category, you should be in this category. All this stuff, they're more about division than they're about inclusiveness. And I feel like the Fandom Menace is about inclusiveness. They allow me to be a part of them. And even though I still like The Last Jedi and I like Solo and I like Suicide Squad, they're okay with it because at least I listen to what they have to say too. I allow a person to have an opinion. And if their opinion is different than me, I don't come and jump on them. Mary Mayhem brought me in to this group. And the first thing we talked about after everybody got a good jeering at me, we did an Everybody Hates Chris stream, and I think it's still one of my favorite things I've done, where people were jumping on me about stuff. But we did a conversation between me and her about The Last Jedi. But that's what started this. It was on Sean Stackhouse's Twitter. He wrote something. People were attacking him, and she was defending him and other things. And I jumped in there and kind of was joking with him. And she didn't say anything bad to me, but she said something in response to one of my things. And we got on a tangent talking about The Last Jedi. And at the end of it, she's like, I'm glad we could talk about this. Because we talked. I didn't call her names. She didn't call me names. We had a good conversation in this Twitter thing. So then she kind of wanted to have that discussion with me on air. And that's how a lot of this started. So I was adopted by the Fandom Menace, which is kind of telling what the Fandom Menace really is, with all these people have to say about it. All these people on the other side, all the SJWs, all the NPCs, all the idiots out there who want to say that we're all hateful and we're racist and we're homophobic and we're, white males only, which is really how the hell you come up with that? I have no clue, because I know a lot of women involved in this too.
Mm-hmm.
They say all this stuff, yet the Fandom Menace, in some ways, sought me out and accepted me. So I was adopted by this group because they are inclusive. They are understanding of different views. But that's because we talk like Star Wars fans used to talk. And that's why I'm here. That's why I like this group. That's why I like, the Fandom Collective. All of that. So
yeah, there's a lot of good people out there that took me in when I first started up, trying to advertise the Fandom Menace volumes, which will be releasing soon. Volume 1 will be releasing soon. And it was people like like Angus, like you, Lethal, and Gaze, and Mary Mayhem, and a lot of different people reached out to help lift me up. And it's something that's said a lot, and sometimes gets criticized. But one of us has a victory, so do we all. We help each other. We help each other to rise up. And it doesn't matter what different opinions we have, as long as you can have common sense conversation, not label someone, not try and dox someone or attack them, or if you can debate your point and you like what you like, have your opinion. I mean, opinions are welcome. So yeah. So tell me a little bit about the Real Review 3000, sir. Why did you start this YouTube channel, and what is it about?
I think it's been about 2-3 years ago that I came up with the idea for the Real Review 3000. And actually, it was Sean Stackhouse and I that came up. I was like, hey, dude, you want to start a YouTube channel? That's how it started. Him and I have had these crazy ideas of things to do for years. I made if you go and look up the intros, the intro playlist I have, you'll see my first intro. That was made about 3 years ago. This is my opinion. You can like it. You don't have to like it, whatever. I don't care. This is it. And I wanted to do music, movies, TV, video games, ADHD for YouTube. I want to be clear and concise in everything. I try to separate my stuff so it's easy to find. If you're into a category, you can go there instead of having to search through everything. I wanted to basically exhibit my geek in me. So the first major video we did was what it means to be a geek in 2019. And that took off like wildfire. I have, I think soon after that, my next thing we did was a Star Wars watch party, which was for the despecialized edition. So it was no A New Hope or anything. And it was just the original version, no add-ins, nothing. And it was amazing. We had John Talks and a few people on there. And that still to this day is my number one video with almost 2,000 views. But I wanted a channel where I could talk about things that, I thought were ridiculous. Justin Bieber, bat nipples, things like that. That's probably my most fun of that intros is like, we don't care if you're into love songs or this or that or Batman and Robin and those bat nipples. I did that on the fly, so I find myself funny. But we do funny stuff. We got another funny one coming up here before long that we're working on with It's a Trap Productions. He's doing some animation for us. Nice. I think you might be on that. I might have you do some voicing on that since it's going to be animated.
Sounds great.
But yeah, I mean, I just I like talking, so it's an outlet to talk on. I don't right now. I haven't done a ton of stuff about Star Wars. I might. I think that's something that separates me from a lot of people is I don't do a ton of Star Wars stuff, but that's also because, like I said, there are certain movies that I stay far away from before they come out. And I came into this just about the time that people, yes, drunk, I do like talking, it. But since I try to stay away from spoilers and all that, I just have to stay away from a lot of this stuff. And so I haven't been able to talk about it. Now, after this comes out, I'll probably be talking about it a lot. I might have a video coming out that I'm working on where I kind of voice what I think might happen, and it might become a segment about me prognosticating certain things. So that could be a funny segment if we do it the way I think we're going to do it. But so 3 years ago or so, I came up with the idea. I was unable to get into it because of job and work and life and all that stuff. So Sean went and did his own thing. And then earlier this year, I was like, I want to really just get into this. Let's do this. So he had the green screen. He had a bunch of other stuff at his house. So I started shooting videos over there. I got my green screen. I set up partially my studio, which is still a ragtag of stuff. But I'm working on getting my studio done so I can do a lot more stuff, bigger productions, stuff like that. Looking to start doing stuff out of the studio. So like live stuff, like out and about in Kansas City. But I'm thinking about like a virtual tour type thing for Kansas City, so people who haven't been here can see what we've got here. I don't know. I have all these ideas of stuff to throw out there, and while a lot of YouTube channels are based on one thing, I think mine is based off of an overall love of pop culture, but I'm really expansive into that, so I don't fall in one line of one thing. Been doing a lot of music reviews lately of old videos. People say, hey, can you react to this music video? I'm like, well, I've seen it, so it's not a reaction. I'm going to review it. So I'll review the vocal performance and I'll say this and that about it. I do my own opinion pieces about things that come up when it really strikes me to do so. The James Bond thing where they said that they were gonna do like a Me Too of James Bond, try to soften him down. I had to get on there right away and go like, this is ridiculous. You can't Me Too James Bond. You just can't. My hope for James Bond is that they get this feministic woman in there and make her all big and bad, the feminine 007 that they're talking about being in this, and he has to come in and save the day. We already know that because she messes something up, so they call him back. And I hope to God she gives into his manly ways. Because why? Because that's what Bond does. And if they do it, I think it'll be a slap in the face to the rest of Me Too people. And I think they will, because that's just how those movies are. So there are certain things that hit me that I'm like, what the hell? I did one on The Princess Bride. The day I saw that they thought about doing a freaking remake, I had to jump on there and do my opinion on it. So there are certain things that really push me to do opinion pieces. But a lot of music reactions and reviews. We do retro reactions on Sean's channel and on my channel. For the Love of Vinyl, we do on both channels. We're kind of a tandem channel that, I'll do some, he'll do some on his. We'll do live streams together on my channel and on his channel for those. I wish I could point blank say what I'm about, but I'm about so much that it's impossible to narrow it down.
No, it's good to have variety. We have a lot of different content creators in the Fandom Medicine and the Fandom Collective. That it's good for a person to find their own niche, to be doing their own thing. Because we don't want to copy each other necessarily. We all kind of sway toward certain opinions, but it's good to have a variety of content, because I think that online media like this is the next wave. I think that, there's a lot of people that just don't even really bother with cable, and they'd rather come on and follow independent creators and instead of programming, from official channels, quote unquote, official channels, professional channels.
Yeah.
There was also a mention earlier of Merry Mayhem, and right now I'm going to do something that I rarely do, and that is shill. If we can get the Real Reviews 3000 up to 1,000 subs, then there's this thing. There is a panda suit that is hiding in Merry Mayhem's closet. We know it's there. And if we can get this channel up to 1,000 views, she is going to don the panda suit. #PandaSuitMary. So please share this video. If you enjoy Chris's content, please check out his channel and subscribe. And if anything, for that panda suit, because we want to see it,
Almost 1/3 of the way there. I'm at 293 last I checked. Hold on, let me go back here, and we're gonna refresh. So fresh and so clean. Sorry. Yeah, as my computer's like, I don't want to work tonight. Well, you told me I didn't have to work tonight.
Oh, that's all right. The reason I was late is because my computer decided that it wanted to update right before the show.
So I am at 293 subscribers, so I'm about 40 away from 1/3 of the way there. So yeah, any bump that I can get, greatly appreciate it. I've also told her that if she doesn't happen to have that panda suit that we know she does have, that I would graciously get her one, and I have been looking at that, so I am highly anticipating that. Now, the scary side of it isn't the panda suit; it is the fact that I have also agreed that I will dress up as Princess Leia from The New Hope.
Holy God! So we're gonna get Princess Chris Knight and Panda Suit Mary and 1,000 subscribers for this channel
live on camera, because it will be a live stream, so we'll both be live on camera.
We must make this happen.
Oh, and it gets better. It gets better. Sean Stackhouse has agreed to dress as Batgirl.
Oh my God! People, we must make this happen.
I'm going all out for that 1,000 subscribers. I'm like, if I get there, I am going to make it a total fool of myself, and I'm okay because I've done that before. Hey, I like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and when I was young, my uncle dressed me up. My uncle dressed me up as Frankenfurter because I've been told I have this Tim Curry look. You know, that and a few other things. And so, yeah, no, it will be a great stream.
And my first cosplay was Frankenfurter when I was 16. I went all in to the Midnight Picture Show.
Well, I love Rocky Horror Picture Show. You can go back. Actually, I'm not sure if it's on her channel anymore, but Mary Mayhem, one of the first Mariokis I was on, I did Sweet Transvestite.
I have to look back for that. And
if I weren't trying to stay away from repeating songs, I would do it because we're coming up on Halloween. But Anthony of Dark Gift Comets Presents and I both are on this kick of we have not yet repeated a song, and I'm sure as hell I'm not going to be the first one to do it. So he has to repeat before I will. So damn it, I'm not doing Sweet Transvestite again for a while.
Well, there's always other great tracks on that album.
There are. I might do Hop Patootie. I might do I don't know. There's several I can do. Yeah, a little trivia, and this is useless knowledge up here, but my geekdom coming out. If you didn't know it, the only reason why Meatloaf was actually picked for that role originally was because he was the only one that could sing that song and get all the words out.
Yeah.
Most of the people that they were trying to get on there were just kind of blah, 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 blah over some of the words and just kind of muddling them. And he came out first time and knocked it out of the park. And they were like, you're it. And he also played Dr. Scott. So whoever played Eddie also played Dr. Scott and the criminologist. So in the original play, the musical on
I didn't know that.
He played all three parts in the United States, and I think it might have been over in the Roxy too, over in London.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you also have a website, sir. What's your website?
How'd you hear about this website?
I just passing.
I mean, we got a lot of really good writers, and then we got one that's just he's all right. No. chaoscentral.com. It's kind of a companion to Geeks and Gamers, things like that. Star Wars is dumb, things like that. It's a article based. You and quite a few other people. I think we got 7 or 8 people that do articles for it. We've got some music stuff on there. We've got, things about Star Wars, Birds of Prey, Joker, all sorts of stuff. It's a big group of articles we're getting up now.
Yeah, Stephanie Janousek has a fanfic series. It's really good.
She does Star Wars fan fiction, and it's done right. It's basically EU material, is what I would say. It's all that stuff, and she doesn't. She's definitely not doing it the Disney way, so that's good stuff. But we got a great group of people there. Again, chaoscentral.com. It's the impetus. It was started long ago with Sean and I in high school doing stupid stuff on not VHS, but well, some on VHS, but on tape. We would record stuff and we would do these skits and stuff that were like Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. And we called it Chaos Central. And as time went on, we were like, hey, we should do a website. And then as we got into this thing, we're like, if we did this, we should actually do it like kind of like Geeks and Gamers, do articles and stuff. And as time goes on, we could do our stupid videos and put them on there. And we're going to work on that. But we do have videos too. If you're part of the fandom Menace, you can contact me at Chris Knight at therealreview3000.com. Let us know if you have a video you want to put up there. We're not against putting other people's videos up there. So anybody who's on our writing team for our website, anybody in the fandom Menace, if you have a video and we can watch it, and it works out for, what we're geared towards, we do that. So that we have a video section, we have a review section. We're looking for more people because a lot of you guys, you guys all have real lives. So, we don't expect all of you to come out with stuff all the time, but we do need a constant influx of articles. So if you do have time and you want to write articles for chaoscentral.com, you can contact me on Twitter, which is at ChrisKnight5150. You can contact me at the email address I gave you, which I will put into here if I can. Let's see here. I'm sorry, I can't talk and type.
Oh, you're fine. I'm a one-trick pony too.
That's my email, and and that's my Twitter handle. You can message me there if you're interested in writing. By all means, we're looking for geekdom, fandom stuff. Just overall, it could be music, movies, it can be reviews, it can be an opinion piece, it could be all that stuff. All we ask is that you're not racist about it. You're open-minded, but you have your opinion. I mean, that's the big thing. We don't want them to have ammo to say we're racist. I know the one article we have that's our top article is the one about doxing Tug. That umbrella guy, that's the big one, and you can actually, I think, search for that and get it pretty quick in a search now. But that's had a lot of, I want to say, not backlash, but backlash from, of course, the infamous people and all that. Oh, she didn't do that. She didn't do that. You know what? When he puts in his articles all the screenshots and all of the stuff, and that's what we do. We're not telling you BS based on just what we want to write. We're not just typing out these articles and putting no context to it. He gives the context, and all they're doing is say, oh, that's BS. That's BS. She never did that. Well, right there it is. Show me your proof that she didn't. And that's the difference between that. Again, that's the difference between Fandom Menace and SJWs and NPCs and all these idiots out there, is they just want to jump on and say, well, no, that's not right. And it's like, okay, fine. It's not right. Show me it. Show me where we're wrong. And they don't do it. They just keep going down the same path of, well, you're just racist. That's why you don't like, oh, you're a homophobic, chauvinistic white male. Well,
the same
two parts of that are right. I am white and I am a male, and I'm sorry. I'm not God, as much as some people might think I am, and as much as I wish I were. No. My point is that that's their comeback all the time. They don't ever show what they're talking about. If you did that, I mean, that's probably the easiest way is, show and tell. If you've got the proof, show it. And then what are we going to say?
That's been a large problem of this since the emergence of it around 2012, 2014, is this kind of outrage culture based on name calling and not evidence and facts.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why they hate us, is that we have the evidence, we have the facts.
So, I'm going to wrap this up now. Thank you for showing up, Chris. This is a really great interview, a really good show. I appreciate you coming and spending your time here. Is there anything you would like to pitch to potential subscribers or your fans at this time?
Well, like I said, I'm actually trying to ramp up content on my channel, so I'm going to try to go up to 5 videos a week, Monday through Friday. I have the Gospel According to Chris on Mondays, which we're going to get back to next week. I took off today to be on your show. And I'm coming up with another idea for a kind of, I would say, quick fire topical discussion stream. So I'm working that out, and I'm planning on having a lot of different people in it every week, not just the same people. But if you've ever watched ESPN, think it's Around the Horn, kind of like that. So I got a lot of things coming up here. I shot 2 videos today. One's going out tomorrow, but the problem is it's got a copyright claim, so I had to dispute that. We'll see if that is cleared up here when I get off of here. But if not, I'll have another one out tomorrow. Anyways, I'll figure out something else. I take all sorts of requests. If you got a request for me to review something, if you want a trailer reaction, if you want a music review reaction, if you want me to shave my head bald, no. But no, I take suggestions. Again, email there, Twitter. Those are the ways to get a hold of me, or you can go in and put it in the comic section on one of my videos. But yeah, I'm just, please go and subscribe. I'm close to 300. I'm very organic. I'm truthful about what I say. It's my opinion, yes, but I'm not going to feed you facts that aren't there. No, I won't shave my head unless I get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I will shave my head.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks.
Hell, if I make 100,000 subscribers by next year, I'll shave my head. How about that? I'll go all the way through next year.
So let's try and get the Real Review 3000 up to 1,000 subs so we can get Panda Suit Mary and this man in a Princess Leia costume and Sean Stackhouse. What was he going to do? I forgot.
Batgirl.
And Sean Stackhouse, Batgirl. That in itself, it should be worth getting this man to 1,000 subs. Yeah. I normally don't shill, but this is for a good freaking cause.
Oh, and one other thing, though. I do have a really good cause going on with this, and I have to go and double check and make sure that the GoFundMe account's still going. I think it is. I am raising money up to 1,000 subscribers. Until I get to 1,000 subscribers, I am raising money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. If you go look on my channel and look up subs for a cause, you will find that video, and it explains everything right there. The GoFundMe is designed to go straight to them, not to me. I have a goal of $10,000, which is high. I don't necessarily know if I'll get that high. I don't think anybody's done anything with it yet. I hope it's still there. If not, I'll start a new one. But that's really where this came from. I said that once I got up to 1,000, I will personally present the check to St. Jude. And because of that, that's why I was going to wear the Leia costume, and then the hashtag Panda Suit Mary came into it. But that's really what I'm trying to do up to 1,000 subscribers, is raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And hopefully I'll have a live stream with one of their representatives here soon. I've been in talks with them about trying to get that worked out so they can explain what they're about and kind of open it up. But my plan has always been to set goals of where my sub count, where I want it to go. So like from 1,000 to 2,000, I'll pick a new charity to raise money for as I'm going up to that thing. So that is something I'm trying to do, is, I'm trying to make a change in the world and help people out. So
that is beautiful. And yeah, that's one of the core tenets. And I state this in the Fandom Menace volumes. I have a chapter called The Heart of the Fandom Menace. And that is, we support charities. We don't just talk about it. We don't just talk about change. We try to affect some kind of decent, positive change in the world. So please, if you can, add to this GoFundMe for St. Jude's for the Real Review 3000. Give him a sub. Let's get him up to 1,000. Let's add to this charity. Let's, of course, the Panda Suit Mary and everything else is kind of a reward for us to help with this charity, and that's a beautiful thing. Please check out the Real Review 3000. Check out chaoscentral.com. If you like the content of his channel, please subscribe. Give to the GoFundMe for St. Jude if you can. Hashtag Panda Mary, and check out Chaos Central. It's a great website. I'm not just saying that because I write there. I'm kind of saying that because I write there. And thank you.
I'm trying to get the link to that video up here really quick. Sorry.
Okay. Fine. That's fine. You know, we have we all live in our own bubble of experience, and I'm finding this out myself, where we do positive things for other people, and that's great. Trying to be a positive person in this world and helping others and putting out good intention. That's a beautiful thing. There's a whole world out there of hurt in many different parts of the world, many different countries. In our country with underprivileged people, and when you can, and if you can, just try and help out. The smallest bit of help can mean a world of difference to people that don't have that don't have the ability to do so for themselves, or just need that little extra oomph. Whether it's a friend and you're giving them positive reinforcement, whether it's letting someone know that they're doing a good job with something, or a little bit of direction, of love and light. That means a lot to people. I mean, it means a hell of a lot to people, and that's something we should all be striving for. So let's see, if you can check out this video from it's on your channel, Subscribers for a Cause. Please check out that video. If you enjoy Chris Knight's content, please give him a sub and be engaged. YouTube's messing with everybody's algorithm, trying to promote the established professional quote unquote channels from major media, and a lot of subscribers that are a lot of YouTubers that are trying to make it, they're getting buried in the algorithm. So if you enjoy their content, please sub, like, comment, and thank you all very much for showing up tonight. Chris, thank you for being here, sir. It was a great conversation.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for having me on here, and I look forward to a conversation after episode 9 comes out.
We are absolutely going to have that, because I enjoy hearing your reflections, as a fan who can remove himself from a lot of the feeling that we all have about what's going on with our beloved franchise. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night, and be good to each other.